Four practices are in the books, and West Virginia is still waiting to hear from the NCAA. Imagine that. We're going to talk about that today here on Between Years.
Nothing yet.
I mean, we're still, it's on somebody else's timeline. It can be frustrating, but at the same time, that I see there was somebody the other day that just got eligible. So we got four guys we're waiting on, and we'll see where that goes.
Or you may have to go to courts to get a decision rather
Sure,
than
yeah.
It eventually seems like it goes to that. It seems like it's all the guys that decisions have been made in the last few weeks. It's been whatever court they went to or something with that. So that's what a lot of that's obviously out of the players' hands and our hands and all that kind of stuff. So it's but we got to have a plan. Plan if they're good. I hope it's all good and they can play. And if they can't play, does that mean we got to somehow find another guy or get somebody else ready? That's we got to can't put our head in the sand. We got to be ready for either outcome.
And there you go. You just heard it from the head coach of the Mountaineers, Rich Rodriguez, talking about the waiver situation of four players, which are, again, for the 100th time this offseason. We've talked about this so much. But if you don't know the situation, these four players are awaiting word from the NCAA. We even did an episode on this. I don't know if it was the first day of camp, before first day, right after, but it was relatively recent, and then we're still waiting to hear word. But it's running back Tye Edwards coming in from Northern Iowa. He's been all over the place. Wide receiver Jeffrey Weimer coming in from Idaho State, also been all over the place. All these guys have been around a few different stops. Defensive lineman Jimmori Robinson from UTSA, and safety from Washington, Justin Harrington. So those are the four that they're still waiting word on. And look, I understand that there are many players out there in college football that have to wait on the NCAA with this waiver process. And I understand that the NCAA has a lot to go through. But this has been several months that these four individuals and others around the country have known that this was, up in the air, that their eligibility was in question. We've had all off season. There's no reason why these four and everybody else around the country in the similar situation should still be waiting to hear an answer from the NCAA. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that these four individuals for West Virginia can't practice, that is massive. That's taking away valuable reps from those four, while also screwing up potential chemistry issues that they're going to have when they return, because now you're going to have to throw those guys into the mix, try and get them sped up, get caught up to speed, whatever. And now those guys are going to have to relearn a new player being in the mix. That new player's going to have to relearn learn those new guys. And that may not even happen until 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. It may not happen until week 1. So it's taking away from these four, but it's also taking away from the rest of the team. It's taking away from the coaching staff, because if and when they do get integrated, it's throwing a wrench into things. And that should not happen. Now, I mean, this could be considered a little bold, but to me, I believe those four should be able to practice. They practiced in the spring. Tye Edwards practiced in the spring, at least. So, I mean, why are they having to go out on their own, do their own individual thing, but not be a part of what they're doing in fall camp? Like, I understand we're waiting on an answer, but that's on the NCAA. That's not on them. They've done everything they needed to do on their end. submitting the paperwork and all that stuff. And this has been tabled for months. So why are they continuing to punish the players and say, hey, you can't practice? You can't get ready for the season, one that you may be able to play in. I mean, that is just absolutely ludicrous to me. I don't care if a player practices and it ends up coming back that he's deemed ineligible. Okay, what does it affect? How does that affect Robert Morris? How does that affect Pitt or TCU or Texas Tech or Arizona State? It doesn't affect them at all. The only team it affects is the team with the player that's ruled ineligible, because you may have gave him some reps that could have went to somebody else. But I know WVU and everybody else in this similar situation is thinking, hey, I'm going to think, and hope for the best here, and we're just going to act as if he's going to be ready to go, because if he is, then we don't have to catch up. You'd rather have that situation than trying to catch up with 4 different players halfway through fall camp or a week into fall camp or whatever the case may be. So why that to me is the thing that really, really gets me. Waiting this long on a decision, I mean, that's crazy as it is, but not allowing these players to practice, I mean, why? Again, it affects nobody. The ruling isn't going to affect any other team except for West Virginia if they're deemed ineligible. And if they are eligible, then they were going to play anyway. So I don't know. It's a big, big issue. And like Rich Rod said, a lot of these decisions that are being made, they're going to court. And that's what it may take to get an answer on these 4. And as we've seen in the past, maybe not in this particular situation with, Rich Rod and WVU, because obviously it's new, but WVU has not shied away from trying to do stuff with eligibility to get their guys cleared. Raekwon Battle, right? There's been others. They haven't been successful in all of them, but they've tried. And I think it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to. They're going to have to go to the courts to try and get this settled, because you can't keep going this late into fall camp without having an answer, one way or the other. You'd like to have those 4, but if you don't, you'd like to at least know for certain that you do not have those 4 guys and that you're going to have to operate without them. And look, we've talked about the pass rush issue ad nauseum. Well, I wouldn't say it's an issue, maybe a concern of mine. Jimmori Robinson, he's going to take care of a lot of those concerns that I have if he's eligible. He had 10 sacks last year. He was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year. 17 tackles for loss. He's going to get in the backfield, folks. There's no question about it. But if he's not there, now you're talking about Eddie Vesterinen, Eddie Kelly, and Hammond Russell. Those 3 players combined have 10 or 10 and a half sacks, one of the 2. And they're all entering their last year of eligibility. They're not big-time pass rushers. Are they good players? Yes. But they're not guys that are proven that are going to go and get you 5-6 sacks a year. It's just not going to happen. So losing him hurts. You've got to find ways to generate pressure if he's not there. Fortunately for the Mountaineers, they have Zach Alley. He's going to find ways to get to the quarterback because he's always been able to do that. He's going to send exotic pressures, simulated pressures. He's going to bring guys from the second and third levels. He's going to do things that most D coordinators wouldn't even think of. And he's going to find ways to get to the quarterback. But having Jimmori Robinson, that certainly helps. Tye Edwards. I mean, what have we heard about all in these first 4 days of practice? Some concerns at running back. Surprises me. But They don't have enough bodies right now to get through practice to where they feel like they're getting enough valuable reps. They need more bodies available for whatever reason that is. I don't know. But we haven't heard a single mention of Jalen Knighton, and we haven't heard a single mention of Sincere Bowers. Why? I don't know. Maybe it just hasn't been brought up. But not having Tye Edwards there, again, it impacts things. Because even if everyone is healthy in that room and Edwards is ineligible, you don't have a power back. So I don't know that I would take the whole thing with Rich Rod saying that they're looking at another running back solely because he may or may not be all that thrilled with how things have gone the first few days. I think it's more so because they don't have enough bodies. They're short there. Guys are banged up. He even said it on Saturday. They're a little banged up there right now. If you add Edwards to that bucket of guys that aren't available, it makes things tough. And Edwards, without question, is your short yardage power back. I mean, he's 6'2", 238, 240 pounds. 6'3" on a good day. That's a lot of human. All right. You can't replace that. There's nobody else on West Virginia's roster in that room anywhere near that size. So if they go dip into the portal, it's probably going to be for guys similar to him. Now, I don't know that there's very many 6'2", 240-pound running backs out there in the portal still waiting to find a home, but they're gonna try and find somebody that has a little bit more mass to them, guys that can run between the tackles and hammer it in short yardage situations. That's what they're going to look for. But again, if he comes into the mix, now you've got to find reps for him. You've got to get him caught up to speed. And he's playing a position that I would say probably more so than anybody else of the four is going to be harder for him to get caught up than the others because he's going to have to get used to that tempo. Jeff Weimer, the Idaho State transfer receiver, he's going to have to deal with the same thing. But to me, I'm just going off numbers here. I would think it's going to be a little harder for a guy the size of Tye Edwards to get conditioned to go at this speed that Rich Rod wants to go with than it is for Weimer. Harrington on defense, I mean, that's and the same thing with Jimmori. I think those two guys, yeah, they're going to have to get caught up, but I don't think there's as much of a getting caught up to speed conditionally concern as there is for Tye Edwards. So at some point, again, they're going to have to go and get to the courts if this thing leaks into a second week. Can't have this happen. The NCAA, y'all know by now. Don't ever put big expectations on the NCAA. Don't ever for a second think that the NCAA is going to do the right thing. And don't ever for a second think that the NCAA is going to use common sense. None of those things belong in their vocabulary or in that building. Just doesn't exist. It's proven. So don't be surprised if we're getting deep into August here and we're still waiting word on these four. The NCAA is still dragging their feet. And when they do, don't be surprised if 1, 2, 3, or maybe even all four get deemed ineligible. Because the NCAA loves to be inconsistent. There's going to be a guy out there somewhere that gets awarded an 8th, 9th, hell, even 10th year of eligibility. But none of these four, or one of these four, might get told to start their professional careers or start selling insurance trying to get a 6th year or a 7th year. But somebody out there who may have more years already under the belt could get one. That's the NCAA for you, folks. Sunday soapbox. It seems like every Sunday is when I get on here and start rambling and start ranting about something. I've got to calm down. It's only August. It's early August. My goodness. All right, I'm going to go relax. We're going to take a break. We'll come back on Tuesday. We're going to talk some more about the football side of things. I kind of already have an idea of what I want to talk about on Tuesday and Wednesday, but things could change. Whether if we hear a word on this situation or Rich Rod says something crazy or he gives us some unexpected insight on something. But if not, then I have a pretty good plan of what we'll talk about this week. On Between Years, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. We greatly appreciate it. And look, folks, the one thing that I also want to mention too, there's a lot of, I don't know what the exact word is, but there's a lot of ridiculous things being thrown around out there. I don't know if you want to call them reports, you loosely use that term, or news. I can promise you one thing, and I don't like to beat my chest or our chest as a website. That's just not something I do. But if there's something that you're questioning, if you don't see it on our website, it ain't true. I can promise you that. We are 100% honest and truthful with you 100% of the time. We're not going to just start feeding you some random stuff to make you think something's going to happen or something or something is happening and it's not. If you ever, ever, ever have a concern or question about something going on in WVU sports and you feel like something's a little sketchy with some report or some other video out there, go to our site. If it's not there and it's not here on this platform, then there's your answer. That's going to do it for us here today. Make sure, again, you hit that like and subscribe button and visit our website, West Virginia on SI, where the most WVU content lives. We've got 6, 7, 8 plus articles every single day of the week, many of which are up before 9 a.m. We're up before most of y'all, so I promise you. So we've got plenty of stuff for you to read and digest as we get deeper into fall camp. We'll take tomorrow off, and we'll be back on Tuesday here on Between Years.